I never thought I'd be the kind of person to destroy my own sister. But then again, never thought my sister would be the kind of person to steal from our dying mother. My name is Emma. I'm 32 years old. I live in Portland, Oregon. And this is the story of how my older sister, Claire, tried to take everything our mother left behind, and how I made sure she lost it all. But before I tell you about the revenge, before I tell you about the hidden will and the courtroom showdown and the moment, Claire's face went pale as she realized what I'd done. I need to take you back to the beginning. I need to tell you about my mother. Her name was Catherine Wells. Everyone called her Kathy. She was 68 years old when she died. And she was the strongest, kindest, most selfless woman I've ever known. Mom was a retired school teacher. Taught second grade for 37 years at the same elementary school in Northeast Portland. She had this incredible ability to make every single child feel special, feel seen, feel loved. Even decades later, I'd run into former students at the grocery store or the coffee shop. And they'd stop me and say, "Your mom was my favorite teacher. She changed my life." That was Mom. She changed lives just by being herself. She wasn't wealthy. Teachers never are, right? But she was careful with money. She saved. She invested a little. She bought a modest house in the Laurelhurst neighborhood back in the 80s. When you could still afford to live there on a teacher's salary? That house is worth over $1 million now, but Mom never cared about that. She just loved her garden and her front porch and the big maple tree in the backyard, where Claire and I used to climb when we were kids. Mom also had jewelry. Not expensive stuff mostly, but meaningful. Her mother's engagement ring, a sapphire from the 1930s. A pearl necklace her father gave her when she graduated college. A collection of vintage brooches she'd inherited from her aunt. Some pieces she'd bought herself over the years. Little treats when she had extra money. Nothing extravagant, but beautiful, full of memories. She used to let Claire and me play dress up with her jewelry when we were little. We'd put on her pearls and her clip-on earrings and parade around the house like we were royalty. Mom would laugh and take pictures and tell us we looked like princesses. Those are some of my happiest memories. Claire is 4 years older than me. Growing up, we were close. She was my big sister, my protector, my role model. She taught me how to ride a bike, how to do a cartwheel, how to talk to boys. When I was being bullied in middle school, Claire confronted the girls who were making my life hell and told them if they ever touched me again, they'd regret it. She was fierce, fearless. I worshipped her. But something changed when we got older. I don't know exactly when it happened. Maybe it was gradual. Maybe I just didn't want to see it. Claire became obsessed with money. She went to business school, got an MBA, started working in finance. She married a guy named Brad. This slick investment banker type who wore expensive suits and drove a Tesla and talked constantly about his portfolio and his bonuses and his deal flow. They lived in a massive house in Lake Oswego, one of the wealthiest suburbs of Portland. 5 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, a 3-car garage, a pool, a home theater. The whole package. But it was never enough. Claire always wanted more. A bigger house. A newer car. Designer clothes. Exotic vacations. She and Brad were always flying to Aspen or the Hamptons or Napa Valley, posting Instagram photos of themselves at 5-star resorts and Michelin-starred restaurants. And she started looking down on me. I'm a social worker. I make $48,000 a year. I live in a small 1-bedroom apartment in Southeast Portland. I drive a 10-year-old Honda Civic. I shop at thrift stores and cook my own meals and save up for months. I want to take a weekend trip to the coast by Claire's standards. I was poor. She never said it directly, but I could feel it. The way she'd glance around my apartment with this pitying look. The way she'd offered to help me out financially when I never asked. The way she'd talk about her life like it was so much more important, so much more successful than mine. It hurt. But I told myself it didn't matter. I told myself Claire was still my sister and I still loved her. And material things weren't everything. Mom felt the same way. She was proud of both of us, but I think she understood me better. We had similar values. We both believed in helping people, in living simply, in finding joy in small things. Claire used to roll her eyes when Mom talked about her garden or her volunteer work at the community center. "That's sweet, Mom," she'd say in this condescending tone. "But you should really think about your financial future. You should invest more aggressively. You should downsize to a condo and put the equity to work." Mom would just smile and change the subject. She knew Claire didn't understand. 2 years ago, Mom was diagnosed with stage 3 ovarian cancer. The doctors said it was treatable but aggressive. She'd need surgery, chemotherapy, possibly radiation. The prognosis was uncertain. Maybe 5 years? Maybe 10? Maybe less. Mom faced it with the same quiet strength she'd faced everything else in her life. "I've had a good run," she told me the day after her diagnosis. We were sitting on her front porch, drinking tea, watching the leaves fall from the maple tree. "I've done meaningful work. I've raised 2 daughters I'm proud of. I've had love. I've had joy. If this is it, I'm at peace." "Don't talk like that," I said, crying. "You're going to beat this." She squeezed my hand. "Maybe, but either way, I want you to know I'm grateful for the life I've had. And I'm grateful for you, Emma. You've always understood me." I spent as much time with Mom as I could over the next 2 years. I took her to chemo appointments. I sat with her when she was too sick to get out of bed. I cooked her meals, cleaned her house, tended her garden. I read to her. We watched old movies together. We talked about everything and nothing. Claire visited too, but less often. She was busy with work, she said. Busy with her social calendar. Busy with her life. When she did visit, she'd stay for an hour, check her phone constantly, and leave. Mom never complained, but I could see the hurt in her eyes. As Mom's condition worsened, she started talking about her estate. She wanted to make sure everything was in order, she said. She didn't have much, but she wanted Claire and me to be taken care of. "I'm updating my will," she told me one afternoon. We were sitting in her living room. She looked so small, so frail. The chemo had taken her hair, her energy, her color. But her eyes were still bright. "I want to be fair to both of you." "Mom, don't worry about that right now," I said. "Just focus on getting better. I need to do this, sweetheart. It gives me peace of mind." She told me she was working with her longtime attorney, a man named Robert Finch. Mr. Finch had handled all of Mom's legal matters for decades. He'd drafted her original will when Dad died 15 years ago. "I trust Robert completely," Mom said. "He'll make sure everything is handled properly." I didn't think much about it at the time. I was focused on taking care of Mom, on spending every possible moment with her while I still could. Claire, on the other hand, became very interested in Mom's estate. She started asking questions. How much was the house worth? What about Mom's savings? Her retirement accounts? Her jewelry? "I just want to make sure everything is organized," Claire said when I confronted her about it. "I want to make sure Mom's affairs are in order." "Is that a crime?" "It feels gross," I said. "Mom's still alive. She's still fighting. And you're already counting her money." Claire's face hardened. "I'm being practical, Emma. Someone has to be. You're so busy playing the martyr, the devoted daughter. You're not thinking about the logistics. What happens if Mom needs long-term care? What if she runs out of money? These are real concerns." "Mom's not going to run out of money," I said. "You don't know that? And frankly, you don't understand finances well enough to even have this conversation." That stung, but I let it go. I didn't want to fight with Claire. I wanted to focus on Mom, but I started noticing things. Claire began visiting Mom more often, but always when I wasn't there. She'd come by in the middle of the day when I was at work. Mom mentioned it a few times. "Claire stopped by today," she'd say. She wanted to talk about my jewelry. She was asking which pieces belonged to her grandmother, which ones I wanted her to have. Something about that felt off to me, but I didn't say anything then. About 6 months before Mom died, I came to her house unannounced one afternoon. I'd left work early because I had a bad feeling. Sometimes you just know when something's wrong. I let myself in with my key. "Mom," I called Dot. No answer. I walked through the house. Mom was asleep in her bedroom. The medication made her sleep a lot by that point. But I heard voices upstairs, in Mom's study. I climbed the stairs quietly. Claire was in the study, going through Mom's desk drawers. "What are you doing?" I said. Claire jumped. She looked guilty, caught. "I was just looking for some documents Mom asked me to find," she said quickly. "What documents? Insurance papers?" She wanted me to review her life insurance policy. "Why would she ask you to do that and not tell me?" "I don't know, Emma. Maybe because I actually understand financial documents and you don't." We stared at each other. The air was thick with tension. "You need to leave," I said. "If Mom needs something, she'll ask me. I'm here every day. You're not." Claire's face flushed with anger. "Don't you dare pull that devoted daughter routine with me. I love Mom just as much as you do. Then act like it. Stop treating her like a bank account." Claire grabbed her purse and pushed past me. "You have no idea what you're talking about," she hissed. "You're so self-righteous, so judgmental. One day you're going to realize you don't know everything." She left. I stood in Mom's study, my heart pounding. I looked at the desk drawer Claire had been going through. It was the drawer where Mom kept important papers, her passport, her social security card, legal documents. Everything looked undisturbed. But I couldn't shake the feeling that Claire had been looking for something specific. I didn't tell Mom about that incident. She was too weak, too sick. I didn't want to stress her out, but I became more vigilant. I made sure I was at Mom's house as much as possible. I started keeping a closer eye on Claire. Mom died on a Tuesday in October. It was peaceful. I was holding her hand. The hospice nurse was there. Claire arrived 20 minutes later, just after Mom had taken her last breath. Claire cried. I cried. We held each other for a brief moment. We were sisters again, united in grief. But that moment didn't last long. The next day, we met at Mom's house to start going through her things. Mr. Finch, Mom's attorney, was supposed to come by later that week to read the will. Claire arrived before me. When I got there, she was already upstairs in Mom's bedroom. "What are you doing?" I asked. "Just looking through Mom's closet," Claire said. "I thought I might want to keep some of her clothes. You know, things that remind me of her." I nodded. That seemed reasonable, but then I noticed something. Claire had Mom's jewelry box open on the bed. Mom's jewelry box was an antique wooden chest with multiple compartments. It had belonged to her mother and her mother before that. It was full of decades' worth of treasures. "We should wait to go through that," I said. "We should do it together." "Maybe Mr. Finch should be here." "Why?" Claire said. "It's just jewelry. I'm not taking anything. I'm just looking." But her voice was defensive. "Guilty. Claire, close the box. We'll deal with this later." She hesitated, then snapped the box shut. "Fine, whatever. You're being paranoid." I let it go. We spent the rest of the day going through Mom's house in uncomfortable silence, sorting things into piles. Keep, donate, trash. It was heartbreaking. Every object held a memory. Mom's favorite mug, her reading glasses, the quilt she'd made by hand, the photo albums full of our childhood. By evening, we were both exhausted. "I'm going to head home," Claire said. "Brad's expecting me for dinner. We can finish this later, okay?" I said. "I'll lock up." Claire left. I stayed for a while, sitting in Mom's living room, surrounded by her things, feeling the weight of her absence. Eventually, I went upstairs to use the bathroom before I left, and that's when I noticed Mom's single quotes as jewelry box was gone. I searched the bedroom, the closet, the bathroom, study. It wasn't there. Claire had taken it. My heart was pounding. My hands were shaking. I called Claire immediately. "Where's Mom's jewelry box?" I said. When she answered, silence. "Claire, where is it?" "I have it," she said finally. Her voice was calm, cold. "You took it without asking me, without even telling me." "Mom wanted me to have her jewelry," Claire said. "She told me so multiple times." "That's a lie." "No, it's not. She knew I appreciated nice things." She knew you'd just let it sit in a drawer somewhere. She wanted me to wear it, to enjoy it, to pass it down to my children. If that were true, she would have put it in her will. We're supposed to wait for the will reading. You know that. The will is irrelevant, Claire said. Mom made her wishes clear to me personally. The jewelry is mine. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You can't just take Mom's things, Claire. That's theft. It's not theft. It's honoring Mom's wishes. And frankly, Emma, if you have a problem with it, take it up with a lawyer, but I'm not giving it back. She hung up. I stood there in Mom's empty bedroom, phone in hand. Too stunned to cry, my sister had just stolen our mother's jewelry. The next few days were a blur. I tried calling Claire a dozen times. She didn't answer. I called her husband, Brad. He said, "This is between you and Claire. I'm staying out of it." I called my uncle, Mom's brother, who lived in Seattle. He was sympathetic but didn't want to get involved. "You girls need to work this out yourselves," he said. I felt alone, betrayed, furious. But I also felt helpless. What could I do? Claire was right about one thing. If I wanted the jewelry back, I'd have to take legal action. And that would cost money I didn't have. So I waited for the will reading. I hoped that Mom's will would make things clear, that it would prove Claire was lying. The will reading was scheduled for the following Monday at Mr. Finch's office downtown. Claire and I sat in the waiting room, not speaking. The tension was unbearable. Mr. Finch called us into his office. He was a kind-looking man in his 70s with white hair and gentle eyes. He'd known our family for decades. "First, let me say how sorry I am for your loss," he began. "Your mother was a remarkable woman." We both nodded. Mr. Finch opened a folder. "Now, let's discuss Catherine's will. This is the version she signed 3 months ago in July. I reviewed it with her extensively, and she was very clear about her wishes." 3 months ago. So Mom had updated her will relatively recently when she knew the end was near. My heart was pounding. Mr. Finch began reading. The legal language was dense. But the basic outline was clear. Mom's estate was valued at approximately $1.2 million. Most of that was the house. She also had about $200,000 in savings and retirement accounts. The will stated that the house and all financial assets were to be divided equally between Claire and me. 50-50. No surprises there. But then Mr. Finch got to the personal property section. Regarding jewelry and other heirlooms, he read, Catherine specified that all jewelry, including but not limited to her mother's engagement ring, her pearl necklace, and her collection of vintage brooches, is to be divided equally between her daughters, Emma and Claire, with the exception of any pieces that Catherine specifically gifted to either daughter during her lifetime. I looked at Claire. She was staring straight ahead, expressionless. "Did Mom gift you any jewelry during her lifetime?" I asked. "That's none of your business," Claire said. "Actually, it is," Mr. Finch said gently. "If there's any dispute about what was gifted versus what is part of the estate, we'll need to resolve that." Claire stood up. "I don't need to sit here and be interrogated. The jewelry is mine. Mom gave it to me. If Emma wants to challenge that, she can sue me." She walked out. Mr. Finch sighed. "I'm very sorry, Emma. Family disputes over estates are unfortunately common. If you believe Claire has taken property that rightfully belongs to the estate, you can contest it. But I have to warn you, litigation is expensive and emotionally draining." "I don't have money for a lawyer," I said quietly. "I understand. However, if you can provide evidence that the jewelry was not gifted, you may have a case. Courts take estate theft very seriously." Evidence? How was I supposed to get evidence? I left Mr. Finch's office feeling defeated. But that night, lying in bed, I couldn't sleep. My mind was racing. And then I remembered something. About a year ago, Mom had asked me to help her organize her paperwork. She was worried about leaving a mess behind, she said. She wanted everything neat and orderly for Claire and me. We'd spend an afternoon going through her files, labeling folders, throwing out old receipts and outdated documents. And Mom had mentioned something that day. She'd said, "I've been making videos. Just me talking to the camera, telling stories about my life, sharing memories. I want you girls to have something to remember me by after I'm gone. She'd been recording video diaries on her iPad. I'd forgotten all about them, but now I wondered. Had Mom said anything about the jewelry in those videos? Had she mentioned her wishes? The next day, I went back to Mom's house. I found her iPad in the drawer of her nightstand, right where she always kept it. I turned it on. The lock screen was a photo of Claire and me as kids, sitting in Mom's lap. I entered the passcode. Mom had given it to me months ago in case I ever needed to access her tablet for her. I opened the Photos app. There were hundreds of videos. Mom had been recording for over a year. I started watching them. Most were just Mom talking to the camera, sharing stories. Her childhood, her marriage to my dad, her years as a teacher, funny anecdotes, life lessons, messages to Claire and me. It was heartbreaking. Hearing her voice again, seeing her face. She looked so tired in the later videos, so sick, but still smiling. Still hopeful. I watched for hours, and then, in a video dated about 4 months before her death, I found it. Mom was sitting in her bedroom. She looked directly at the camera. "I want to talk about my jewelry," she said. "I know this might seem trivial, but it's important to me. These pieces have been in our family for generations, and I want to make sure they're passed down properly." My heart started racing. "I've been thinking a lot about what to do with my jewelry," Mom continued. "Claire has been asking me about it. She wants certain pieces. Specifically, she wants my mother's sapphire ring and the pearl necklace. She says they'd look beautiful on her and she'd wear them all the time." Mom paused. She looked sad. "I love Claire. She's my daughter. But I'm not giving her my jewelry. Not all of it, anyway. Because I don't trust that she values these pieces for the right reasons. She sees them as expensive, as status symbols. She doesn't see the memories, the history." The love tears were streaming down my face as I watched. "I want Emma to have my jewelry," Mom said. "All of it. Because Emma understands. Emma knows that my mother's ring isn't just a sapphire. It's a symbol of my mother's courage, her resilience, her love. Emma knows that the pearl necklace isn't just pretty. It's a reminder of the day I graduated college, the proudest moment of my father's life." Mom wiped her eyes. "I've made my will very clear. The jewelry goes to both girls equally, officially. But Emma, if you're watching this, I want you to know my true wishes. I want you to have everything. I trust you to honor these pieces, to cherish them, to pass them down to your children with the stories attached." She looked directly into the camera. "And Claire, if you're watching this, I love you. But I need you to understand. These things are not about money. They're about memory, about family. If you can't see that, then you don't deserve them." The video ended. I sat there, sobbing. Mom had known. She'd known Claire would try to take the jewelry. She'd known there would be a fight. And she'd left me this video. This evidence. I immediately made copies of the video, saved it to my phone, emailed it to myself, uploaded it to a cloud storage account. Then I called Mr. Finch. "I found something," I said. "I need to see you right away." The next day, I showed Mr. Finch the video. He watched it in silence, his expression growing more serious. When it ended, he looked at me. "This is significant evidence, Emma. It demonstrates your mother's intent clearly. However, there's a complication." "What complication?" "The will states that the jewelry is to be divided equally. Your mother didn't legally change the will to reflect what she said in this video. So technically, Claire is entitled to half." My heart sank. "But Mom said she wanted me to have everything." "No. And this video makes her wishes morally clear. But legally, we're bound by the written will. Unless what?" Mr. Finch leaned forward. "Unless we can prove that Claire has already taken possession of property that should be divided through probate. If she's violated the terms of the will by removing estate assets without permission, that's theft. And it could void her claim entirely." "She took the jewelry the day after Mom died," I said. before the will was even read. She just took the entire jewelry box. Can you prove that? I thought for a moment. I don't have photos or video, but I was there. I saw the jewelry box that day, and then it was gone. Claire admitted on the phone that she has it. Do you still have that phone call in your records? Yes. I never deleted it. Good, save it. That's evidence. Mr. Finch explained that we could file a petition with the probate court, asking the judge to order Claire to return the jewelry to the estate so it could be properly distributed. The video and the phone call would be our evidence. I have to warn you, Mr. Finch said. This will get ugly. Claire will fight back. She hired lawyers. It could take months. I don't care, I said. Mom trusted me to do the right thing. I'm not letting Claire steal from her. Mr. Finch smiled. Your mother was right about you. We filed the petition the next day. Claire was served with papers a week later. She called me immediately, screaming, "You're suing me. Your own sister. Over some jewelry? You stole it, Claire. You took it without permission before the estate was even settled. That's illegal. Mom gave it to me." No, she didn't. I have proof. Silence. What proof? Claire said finally. Her voice was shaky now. You'll find out in court. I hung up. Over the next few weeks, things escalated quickly. Claire hired an expensive attorney, some hotshot from a big downtown firm. Her lawyer sent aggressive letters to Mr. Finch, claiming that I was harassing Claire, that I was making false accusations, that I was trying to cheat her out of her rightful inheritance. It was absurd, but it was also scary. Claire's lawyer was good, and I was just a social worker with no money and a small-town attorney on my side. But I had something Claire didn't have. The truth. The court date was set for early December, about 2 months after Mom's death. The night before the hearing, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying Mom's video in my mind. I kept thinking about all the times Claire had dismissed me, looked down on me, treated me like I was less than her. This wasn't just about jewelry anymore. This was about respect, about justice, about honoring Mom. The next morning, I put on my best suit. It was from Target, probably cost $40, but it was clean and professional. Claire showed up in designer everything. Gucci purse, Prada shoes, a tailored dress that probably cost more than my monthly rent. She didn't even look at me. The hearing was held in a small courtroom. The judge was a woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. Claire's lawyer went first. He was smooth, confident, condescending. He argued that Claire and Mom had a special relationship, that Mom had verbally gifted the jewelry to Claire over the years, and that Claire had every right to take possession of items that were rightfully hers. My client's sister is engaging in a vindictive campaign to punish Ms. Wells simply because she's successful, the lawyer said. This is about jealousy, Your Honor, not justice. I wanted to scream. Then it was Mr. Finch's turn. He stood up slowly. He wasn't flashy or aggressive. He was calm, measured. Your Honor, this case is very simple, he began. The deceased, Catherine Wells, had a valid will that clearly states all jewelry is to be divided equally between her 2 daughters. The defendant, Claire Wells, removed that jewelry from the estate before probate was opened. She refuses to return it. That is theft under Oregon probate law. He paused. But more importantly, Your Honor, we have evidence that directly contradicts the defendant's claim that the jewelry was gifted to her. Mr. Finch played Mom's video on a laptop, connected to the courtroom's monitor. The room went silent. Everyone watched as my mom, frail and dying, looked into the camera and said, I want Emma to have my jewelry. All of it. I watched Claire's face. She went pale. Her jaw tightened. Her lawyer was whispering furiously to her. But she wasn't responding. When the video ended, the judge looked at Claire. Double quotes, Ms. Wells. Do you have any response to this video? Claire's lawyer started to speak, but the judge held up her hand. I'm asking Ms. Wells directly. Claire stood up slowly. Her hands were shaking. That video doesn't mean anything, she said. My mom was on a lot of medication. She wasn't thinking clearly. She said a lot of things in those last months that didn't make sense. Are you suggesting your mother was mentally incompetent when she made this video? The judge asked. I don't know. Maybe. She was very sick. And yet she updated her will just 1 month after making this video. Her attorney has testified that she was fully competent at that time. So, which is it, Ms. Wells? Was your mother competent or not? Claire didn't answer. The judge turned to Mr. Finch. Does the estate have any other evidence? Mr. Finch played the audio of Claire's phone call, the one where she admitted to taking the jewelry and refused to give it back. The judge listened. Her expression was unreadable. When it was over, she set down her pen and looked at both of us. I've heard enough, she said. Here's my ruling. My heart was pounding so hard I thought I might pass out. Miss Claire Wells, you removed property from your mother's estate without permission and in direct violation of probate law. The video evidence clearly demonstrates that your claim of a verbal gift is questionable at best. The phone recording demonstrates that you knowingly and willfully refused to return estate property when asked. The judge paused. I am ordering you to return all jewelry that belonged to Catherine Wells to the estate within 48 hours. Failure to comply will result in contempt charges. Additionally, because you have delayed the probate process and forced this litigation, I am awarding attorney's fees to the petitioner, Ms. Emma Wells. To be paid out of your share of the estate, Claire gasped. Furthermore, the judge continued, given the clear evidence of your mother's wishes as expressed in the video, and given your conduct in this matter, I am modifying the distribution of personal property. All jewelry shall be awarded solely to Emma Wells. I couldn't breathe. Your Honor, Claire's lawyer said, jumping to his feet. That's not my ruling stands, the judge said firmly. Ms. Claire Wells, your behavior has been dishonest and disrespectful to your mother's memory. You will not profit from it. This hearing is adjourned. The gavel came down. I sat there, stunned. I'd won. I'd actually won. Claire stormed out of the courtroom without looking at me, her lawyer hurrying after her. Mr. Finch put his hand on my shoulder. Your mother would be proud, he said quietly. 2 days later, a courier delivered a box to my apartment. Inside was Mom's jewelry box. I opened it with shaking hands. Everything was there. My grandmother's sapphire ring, the pearl necklace, the vintage brooches, every piece exactly as I remembered. I sat on my living room floor, surrounded by these treasures, and I cried. Not because I'd won, not because I'd beaten Claire, but because I'd kept my promise to Mom. Over the next few months, the estate was settled. The house was sold for $1.3 million. After expenses and attorney's fees, Claire and I each received about $600,000. Claire got her money. I got mine and the jewelry. We haven't spoken since the court hearing. She blocked my number, unfriended me on social media, told our relatives that I'd cheated her out of her inheritance. Some of them believed her. My uncle stopped returning my calls. A few cousins took Claire's side. It hurt, but not as much as I thought it would, because I know the truth. And more importantly, I honored Mom. I had the sapphire ring resized to fit my finger. I wear it every day. Every time I look at it, I think about my grandmother, who fled Poland during World War II with nothing but that ring sewn into the hem of her coat. I think about her courage, her resilience. I wear the pearl necklace on special occasions. I think about my grandfather, handing it to my mom on her graduation day, tears in his eyes because he was so proud. These pieces aren't just jewelry, they're memory, they're love. Their family. Claire never understood that. Maybe she never will. I used part of my inheritance to buy a small house. Nothing fancy. A 2-bedroom bungalow in southeast Portland with a garden in the backyard. I planted roses, Mom's favorite. I also started a scholarship fund in Mom's name. Every year, I give $5,000 to a student at the elementary school where Mom taught. Someone who wants to be a teacher. Someone who understands that making a difference matters. More than making money, That's what Mom would have wanted. Sometimes late at night, I wonder if I was too harsh on Claire. If I should have tried harder to reconcile. If I should have just let her have the jewelry and preserved our relationship. But then I watch Mom's video again, and I remember what she said. These things are not about money. They're about memory. About family. Claire chose money. I chose memory, and I don't regret it. About 6 months after the court hearing, got a letter in the mail. It was from Claire. I almost didn't open it, but curiosity got the better of me. Inside was a single handwritten page. Emma, it began. I'm not apologizing. I still believe Mom wanted me to have that jewelry. I still believe you manipulated the situation. But I'm tired of fighting. I'm tired of being angry. Brad and I are moving to California. His firm is transferring him to San Francisco. Maybe the distance will be good for both of us. Maybe someday we can be sisters again. Or maybe not. I don't know. But I want you to know that despite everything, I don't hate you. I just don't understand you. And I don't think you understand me either. Maybe we were never meant to be close. Maybe we're just too different. Take care of yourself, Claire. I read the letter 3 times. Then I folded it carefully and put it in a drawer. I didn't respond. Maybe someday I will. Maybe someday Claire will realize what she lost. Maybe someday she'll understand that you can't buy the things that matter most. Or maybe she won't. Either way, I've made my peace with it. I have Mom's jewelry. I have Harry have Mom's jewelry. I have her memory. I have the stories, and I have the knowledge that I did the right thing. That's enough. A year after Mom died, met someone. His name is Daniel. He's a teacher, like Mom was. 3rd grade. We met at a coffee shop near the school where he works. I was grading some case files for work, and he was grading spelling tests. And we started talking. He's kind, thoughtful. He volunteers at a homeless shelter on weekends. He drives a beat-up Subaru and lives in a small apartment and doesn't care about designer labels or exotic vacations. He reminds me of Mom in the best ways. On our 3rd date, told him about Claire, about the jewelry, about the court battle. I was nervous. I didn't want him to think I was vindictive or petty, but Daniel just listened. And when I was done, he took my hand and said, "You honored your mother. That takes courage." "I'm proud of you," I cried. Right there in the restaurant, because those were the words I needed to hear. 6 months later, Daniel and I moved in together. Into my little bungalow with a rose garden. And on the day we moved his stuff in, I did something I'd been thinking about for a long time. I took out Mom's jewelry box. I opened it carefully, and I gave Daniel my grandmother's engagement ring. Not the sapphire. That one's mine. I'll never give that away. But there was another ring in the collection. A simple gold band with a tiny diamond. It had belonged to my great-aunt Margaret. Mom's aunt who never married, but who wore that ring every day as a symbol of her independence, her strength, her refusal to wait for a man to define her worth. This belonged to my great-aunt, I told Daniel. She was an amazing woman, strong, independent, fierce, and I think she'd want this ring to go to someone who values those same qualities. Daniel looked confused. "I don't understand." I smiled. "I'm not proposing. Not yet, anyway. But I want you to have this. To hold on to it. For when the time is right. For when we're both ready." Daniel's eyes filled with tears. He took the ring carefully, like it was made of glass. "I'll take care of it," he said. "I promise. I know you will." We stood there in my living room, surrounded by moving boxes and furniture and the life we were building together. And I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. Mom would have liked Daniel. I know she would have. And I think she'd be happy knowing that her jewelry, her treasures, her memories were being honored the way they deserved to be. Not locked in a safe. Not worn as status symbols, but lived in. Loved, passed down with stories attached. That's what matters. That's what lasts. 2 years after Mom died, I got a phone call from my uncle. The one who'd stopped talking to me after the court hearing. "Emma," he said. His voice was shaky. "I need to talk to you. What's wrong?" "It's Claire. She and Brad are getting divorced." I sat down. What? Brad's firm is letting him go. Something about insider trading. He's facing criminal charges. They've lost everything. The house, the cars, everything. I didn't know what to say. Claire called me last night, my uncle continued. She was crying. She said she's broke. She said she made a mistake. She said she wishes she'd listened to your mother. Silence. I was wrong about you, Emma, my uncle said quietly. I believed Claire's version of events. I thought you'd been unfair to her. But now I see. You were right. About all of it. Your mother knew what she was doing. Thank you for telling me, I said. Are you going to reach out to Claire? Help her? I've thought about it. Really thought about it? I don't know, I said honestly. Part of me wants to. She's still my sister. But part of me knows that Claire needs to figure this out on her own. She spent so many years chasing money, chasing status, looking down on people like me who live simply. Maybe this is her chance to learn what Mom was trying to teach her all along. And what's that? That the things that matter can't be bought. My uncle was quiet for a moment. Then he said, your mother raised you well, Emma. She did her best. We hung up. I thought about calling Claire. I really did. But I didn't because some lessons have to be learned the hard way. And some bridges, once burned, can't be rebuilt. Not right away. Anyway, maybe someday, but not today. 3 years after Mom died, on the anniversary of her death, I did something special. I invited everyone who'd loved her to my house. Former students, former colleagues, friends from her book club and her gardening group and her church. About 40 people came. We sat in my backyard, under the maple tree I'd planted in her memory. And we've told stories about Mom's kindness, her humor, her wisdom. One woman, a former student who is now a doctor, said, Mrs. Wells taught me that I could be anything I wanted to be. I came from a poor family. I didn't speak English well, but she believed in me. She stayed after school to tutor me. She wrote letters of recommendation. She changed my life. Another person, a fellow teacher, said, Kathy was the most generous person I've ever known. She gave without expecting anything in return. She loved without conditions. The world is darker without her. I stood up last. I took out my grandmother's sapphire ring. I held it up so everyone could see. This ring belonged to my grandmother. I said, my mom treasured it, not because it was valuable, but because it represented courage, resilience, love. My mom taught me that the most. Important things in life aren't things at all. They're people, memories, stories, and I promise you all I will spend the rest of my life honoring her memory. Not by being perfect, but by being kind, by being generous, by loving without conditions. The way she did, everyone raised their glasses. To Kathy, someone said. To Kathy, we all echoed. I felt Mom's presence that day. In the garden, in the laughter, in the stories. She wasn't gone. She was just ... different. Part of all of us now, for years after Mom died. Daniel proposed. He used my great-aunt Margaret's ring, the one I'd given him years earlier. We got married in my backyard under the maple tree, surrounded by friends and family and people who'd loved Mom. I wore the pearl necklace and my grandmother's sapphire ring, and I felt like the luckiest person in the world. Not because I had money, not because I had things, but because I had love and memory and purpose. The things Claire spent her whole life chasing, the things she thought would make her happy, turned out to be empty. But the things I valued, the things Mom taught me to treasure, turned out to be everything. I haven't heard from Claire in 4 years. I don't know where she is or what she's doing. Part of me hopes she's okay. Part of me hopes she's found some peace. But part of me knows that until she learns what Mom was trying to teach her, she'll never be truly happy. Money doesn't buy happiness. Status doesn't buy fulfillment. Things don't buy meaning. Love does. Memory does. Family does. Mom knew that. I know that now too. And I'll spend the rest of my life making sure her legacy lives on. Not in jewelry boxes or bank accounts, but in kindness, in generosity, in love. That's the real inheritance. That's what she left me, and no one can ever take that away. 5 years after Mom died, I got a letter. It was forwarded from my old apartment. The return address was from somewhere in Colorado. I opened it carefully. Inside was a single page, handwritten in Claire's familiar script. Kima, it began. I don't know if you'll read this. I don't know if you'll care, but I need to say it anyway. You were right. About everything. About Mom. About the jewelry. About what matters. I spent so many years chasing the wrong things. I thought money would make me happy. I thought success would make me worthy. I thought status would make me matter. But I was wrong. I lost everything. My marriage, my house, my so-called friends. And in losing everything, I finally understood what Mom was trying to tell me. The things that matter can't be bought. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't even expect you to respond. But I want you to know that I'm sorry. I'm sorry for stealing from Mom. I'm sorry for disrespecting her memory. I'm sorry for treating you like you were less than me. You were always the better daughter, the better person. I see that now. I hope you're happy, Emma. I hope you have the life you deserve. And I hope that someday, maybe, we can talk again. Not as enemies, just as sisters. Love, Claire. I read the letter 3 times. Then I sat down and wrote a response. Claire, I wrote, thank you for your letter. It took courage to write it, and I appreciate that. I forgive you. Not because what you did was okay, but because I don't want to carry anger anymore. Mom wouldn't want that. She loved us both, even when we disappointed her, even when we hurt each other. I don't know if we'll ever be close again. Too much has happened. Too much has been said. But I'm willing to try. If you want to talk, I'm here. If you need help, I'm here. Not because I owe you anything, but because you're my sister. And family, as Mom always said, is about forgiveness as much as it's about love. Take care of yourself, Claire. I hope you find peace. Love, Emma. I mailed the letter. I don't know if Claire ever received it. I don't know if she'll respond. But I know I did the right thing. Because that's what Mom would have done. She would have extended grace, offered forgiveness, left the door open, not because it was easy, but because it was right 6 years after Mom died. I had a daughter. We named her Catherine. Kathy for short. She has Mom's eyes, her smile, her gentle spirit. And on the day she was born, I put my grandmother's sapphire ring on a chain and wore it around my neck, close to my heart. Your great-grandmother would have loved you so much. I whispered to my baby girl as I held her for the first time. And someday, when you're old enough, I'll tell you all about her. About her courage, her kindness, her strength. And I'll give you this ring. Not because it's valuable, but because it represents everything she was. Everything I hope you'll be. Daniel stood beside me, tears streaming down his face. She's perfect, he said. Just like her great-grandmother, I replied, and I knew. In that moment, that Mom's legacy would live on. Not in bank accounts or real estate or jewelry boxes, but in stories. In values. In love passed down from generation to generation. That's the inheritance that matters. That's the will that can never be broken. 7 years after Mom died, I got a phone call. It was Claire. Emma. Her voice was tentative. Nervous, Claire. Hi. I'm sorry it took me so long to respond. I've been working on myself, getting therapy, trying to figure out who I am without all the ... stuff. I'm glad, I said, and I meant it. I heard you had a baby, a little girl. I did. Her name is Kathy. Silence. Then Claire started crying. Mom would have loved that, she said. I know. I was wondering, could I meet her? Your daughter. I know I don't deserve it. I know I have no right to ask. But I'd like to be part of her life, if you'll let me. I looked at Daniel. He nodded. Double quotes, yes, I said. You can meet her. You can be part of her life. But Claire, I need you to understand something. Anything. This isn't about second chances. This is about new beginnings. The past is the past. We can't change it, but we can choose how we move forward. Can you do that? Yes, Claire said. I can do that. And come visit. Come meet your niece. Come be part of our family again. Q. Emma, thank you. We hung up, and for the first time in 7 years, I felt like maybe, just maybe, our family could heal. Not because we forgot what happened, but because we chose to move forward. Anyway, that's what forgiveness is. Not erasing the past, but refusing to let it define the future. Mom taught me that. And now I get to teach it to my daughter 8 years after Mom died. Claire came to visit. She knocked on my door on a sunny Saturday morning in May. I opened it. We stood there for a moment, just looking at each other. Claire looked different. Older, tired, but also softer. More real. Hi, she said. Hi, I replied. We hugged. Awkwardly at first. Then tighter. Come in, I said. Claire met Kathy. She held her. She cried. She looks like Mom, Claire whispered. I know. We spent the afternoon in my backyard under the maple tree, drinking tea and watching Kathy play. We didn't talk about the jewelry. We didn't talk about the court battle. We didn't talk about all the years of silence. We just talked about life, about loss, about learning. I've been working as a teacher, Claire said. Elementary school, 2nd grade. Like Mom. I looked at her, surprised. Really? Yeah. Turns out I'm good at it. And it makes me happy. Not rich, but happy. I finally understand the difference. Mom would be proud, I said. I hope so. We sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then Claire said, Emma, can I ask you something? Of course. Do you think Mom would forgive me for what I did? I thought about it. Really thought about it. Then I smiled. I think Mom already has, I said. I think she forgave you the moment you realized you were wrong. That's who she was. Claire nodded, tears streaming down her face. Thank you, she said, for giving me another chance. For not giving up on me. You're my sister, I said. I'll never give up on you. And I meant it, because that's what family is. Not perfection. Not agreement on everything, but showing up, forgiving, trying again. Mom taught me that too, 10 years after Mom died. I took Kathy to visit Mom's grave. She was 4 years old by then, old enough to understand at least a little. We brought flowers. Daisy's Mom's favorite. Mommy, who is this? Kathy asked, pointing at the gravestone. This is your great-grandmother, Catherine, I said. She was the kindest, strongest, most amazing woman I ever knew. And she loved you very much, even though she never got to meet you. How did she love me if she never met me? I smiled, because love doesn't end when someone dies. It just changes. It lives on in the people who remember, in the stories we tell, in the things we pass down. I took off the sapphire ring. I held it up so Kathy could see. This ring belonged to your great-great-grandmother. And then it belonged to your great-grandmother. And now it belongs to me. And someday, when you're old enough, it will belong to you. Kathy's eyes went wide. Really? Really? But first, you have to promise me something. What? You have to promise that you'll remember the story of this ring, the courage it represents, the love it holds, the family it connects. Can you do that? Kathy nodded solemnly. I promise. I put the ring back on my finger. Good, because that's the real treasure, sweetheart. Not the ring itself, but the story, the memory, the love. I understand, Mommy. Somehow I think she did. We stood there for a while, the three of us. Me, Kathy, and Mom's memory. And I felt complete because I'd done what Mom asked. I'd honored her. I'd protected her legacy. I'd passed it down, not in a will, not in legal documents, but in love, in stories, in values. That's the inheritance that matters. That's the will that lasts forever. And as I stood there, holding my daughter's hand, looking at my mother's grave, I realized something. Claire didn't take anything from me. When she stole that jewelry, she actually gave me something. She gave me clarity. She showed me what I valued most. what I was willing to fight for, what I was made of, and in doing that, she helped me become the person Mom always believed I could be. Strong, principled, unbreakable. So in a strange way, I'm grateful not for the pain, not for the betrayal, but for the lesson. 4. The reminder that the things that matter most can never be stolen. They can only be given. And received and passed down generation after generation. That's my mother's. Real will not the legal document filed in probate court, but the legacy of love she left behind in me, in Kathy, in everyone whose life she touched, and that will can never be contested, never be challenged, never be taken. Away, it's ours, forever. And that's the greatest inheritance of all. So yes, my sister took all Mom's jewelry after she died. But then she saw what I did with the will. I honored it. I fought for it. I protected it. Not for money, not for things, but for memory, for love, for family. And in the end, that's what mattered most. Not who got the jewelry, but who understood why it mattered in the first place. I did, and now, so does my daughter. And someday, so will her children, and their children after that. That's the will that lasts. That's the inheritance that matters. And no one, not even my sister, could ever take that away from me. This is Emma. This is my story, and this is how I honored my mother's memory. Not by winning in court. But by living the values she taught me. Every single day for the rest of my life. That's the real revenge. Not destroying my sister, but becoming the woman my mother always knew I could be. Strong, kind, unbreakable, and passing that strength on to the next generation. That's what the will was really about, and I kept it. Every word, every promise, every ounce of love. Thank you for listening. Thank you. Thank you for being here. And if you've ever lost someone you love, if you've ever had to fight for what's right, if you've ever wondered if you were strong enough, you are. Trust me, you are. Just like my mom knew I was, just like I know my daughter is, just like you are too. Remember that always.